It's Wednesday, December the 18th. Lake level's right at 916. Looks like they've been generating quite a bit of water. But I fished quite a few days this week. We had a big group that we took out, fished up in the Baxter to Shell Knob area. And, I spent probably 4 days up there. And my crankbait bite, rock crawler, water temperature, it's about, depends where you're at, but it's about 52, 53 degrees in that main lake. Now you get up in the backs of the creeks, up in the Indians, and you'd find some 48, 49 degree water. And the further up the river arms you go, the colder it gets, you find some 42, 43. But that water cooling down, it seems like it slowed my crankbait bite down quite a bit. I mean, I caught them a Wednesday on it real good. And, Friday, not as well. Saturday, we had, 5 or 6 keepers on the rock crawler. And then we had to start looking deep. But, the deep bite's been really good. It's been going on for a month or so. Now, a lot of times, them deep fish, this time of year, you're fishing in the center of the creeks, over deeper trees, which we did that, and we found, several groups of fish, but I also found quite a few fish, a lot shallower. A lot of them fish that are out there in the middle, some of them will be anywhere from 40 to as deep as, 70 feet deep. But we caught a lot of them, suspended around trees and under the shad, and, individually catching one here and one there in the live scope. But we also did find a couple big groups of fish on the bottom, and they were in that 32 to 38 foot range. Now those ones, person did need live scope, and those fish were super tight to the bottom. And once you'd hook one, you would hook several, and it would be crazy for 15, 20 minutes. I think that one day, Saturday, in the first session, we had like 50 something fish, with probably 25, over half of them being keepers. And then in the afternoon trip, we had about the same number. But then Sunday, I went back out there. We still caught fish. I think we had about 20, 25 in the morning deal, but we had to work a lot harder for them. I mean, 25 is nothing to complain about, but when you catch them the day before, when it's every other drop, it's pretty phenomenal. But, we spent 3 or 4 hours looking before we found that too. But the key baits I've been using Damiki style baits, but this missile spunk shad, this one, a little bit of chartreuse on the bottom, and then there's also a smoked purple, or a frosted purple, worked real well too. Now I've been throwing it on a Queen City ball-headed jig with a 2-aught hook. Depends on how deep the fish are. Some of the ones that are real deep, I may be throwing a 5/8 ounce or a 3/4. Some of the shallower ones are 3/8 ounce. And like I say, some of the fish that were suspended, we would just, pick them out or work these underneath the shad. And some of the fish were on top of the shad as well. We just kind of swam it through them. But once we got onto them on the bottom, the baits that seemed to work the best was Dixie Jet 7/8 ounce slab spoon and Rapala ice fishing jigger. And it didn't really matter what color ice fishing jig. I primarily threw the white spoon. But a lot of these fish, you catch them right underneath the boat. Like I say, you might only see 1, maybe 2 fish on the bottom, but whenever you hooked one, the bottom would light up, and, one guy would have one, and the next guy would get up there, drop down and catch one, and, several doubles. It was a ball for a while. But like I say, it took us 3 hours to find that group of fish. And the next day, we found them, but not as heavy, not as thick. But, I think that deep bite is going to be the main deal throughout the winter. Now, I threw a jerkbait quite a little bit, but I'm not finding very many fish up in that jerkbait range, like around the cedar trees or on the bluff end points. And I think that's what's happened with a lot of my crankbait bite. There's just not a lot of fish up there dead shallow. And, one thing too about when I got onto them fish fishing deep off them humps, it was just a main lake hump where it had a channel on one side. And the top of the hump was pretty shallow because we were actually cranking the top part of it, which was about 8 to 10 feet. And then we noticed where it went out to the channel, where it dropped off to about 25, 30 feet, we kept marking a few fish out there. So we went out there and started throwing a Demiki rig, and you know, that's how we started catching them bottom fish. But the bait does not have to be around, because there was very little shad. Where we caught that many fish in 2 days, every once in a while you would see a group of shad. So it's not, you don't necessarily always have to be cruising around looking for the big, huge schools of shad. Look off some of these, you know, long flat points right where they roll off, or out on the tips of them if it's anywhere from, you know, 30 to 40 feet. And another way we caught them, it seems like when that slowed down, you know, we caught them on the bottom on a football jig, fishing it from, you know, 25 to 35 feet deep. We was throwing a 5/8 ounce or 3/4 ounce football jig, like PBJ with a twin tail trailer, like a Missiles Feather Craw, or a Strike King Baby Raised Craw as a trailer. But, you know, a lot of different ways to catch fish out there. I think the most consistent and the most numbers is out there deep. And like I say, that should hold up, you know, for the next several weeks. I hope everybody has an awesome Christmas next week. So until next week, good luck, good fishing.